Hello there and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to do some drawing. It's Inktober and I'm doing the Inktober Tangles challenge and it's 18th of October today, so it's day 18. I'll come to that in a moment. But I have a hankering to colour my paper today. And so I've got a piece of the sketchbook paper I'm using for everything. And I'm just trying to decide what kinds of colours I'd like to use. And I'm in an autumnal mood, which may mean that perhaps pinks and purples might not be the best thing. I've got some oranges here, and I have got yellows as well. Reds, orange, yellows. Let's go with those. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with wild honey, which will give me a warm orangey tone. This cut and dry foam is a bit mucky because I was using it on a disastrous coloured piece of paper and it had some purple on it, but I'm fine with that. I really am fine with it. Okay, I want to add to this, I definitely want some orangey colours, orangey tones, and I think I might, carved pumpkin tends to be a bit on the bright side, but perhaps I can just add hints of it in here and there rather than a band of it that would be a bit overpowering, I think. That'll do. Then I want to start to go towards reds, so I'm looking for a pink. I've got this colour, which is the saltwater taffy, which is it's a sort of salmony colour, but I think it might make a nice transition from orangey colours into red colours, perhaps. Yeah, it's got those warm pink tones, but it's still more on the orangey side, like salmon. Not that I eat salmon. Vegetarian. I've been vegetarian more or less continuously since I was 13. There's been times where I've had to sort of like, in the old days where I'd do things to appease people. I'd eat meat to stop them complaining at me, but I haven't eaten meat for well over 20 years, not to my knowledge. Because if you eat out, you never just know quite. But, you know, if pans or surfaces are used, you know, there's not a lot I can do about that. But this is abandoned coral, which is getting more red compared to the saltwater taffy. I've got a bit of a line there, but it'll be fine. So I'm just adding some of that. I'm trying to keep some of that golden colour there. And I do want some reds, I think, but I want something that will be perhaps towards the browny colour, or a browner red. So I've got Crackling Campfire here, which I think, it's more orangey again. So I'll add some of that in the corners, perhaps around, just to tie things together. I got that, it's quite orangey. You think, it's okay. Candied Apple is a really bright red, perhaps Barn Door. Oh gosh, that is superly intensely red, especially when it's coming out really juicy. But I've got that actually, that makes me fairly happy actually, because I've got that red edge. Yeah, that'll do. And I want to introduce, I'm sort of thinking about introducing hints of purple there, or magenta, but I don't think it's going to work because that's just too orange. So instead, let me have a look. I've got aged mahogany here, which is a red brown. And I think that will look nice just to edge and give me that distinct border to this piece of paper. Every time I do this, every time I colour paper and I use it to draw on, I'm always so happy with what I produce often. There is just something nice about having coloured paper to draw on. Now I colour my own often, although I've got some coloured paper. I've got coloured papers in my stash, as you will know. But this isn't really showing. Hang on, let me check the brightness of my screen. It's showing up-ish. I'm saying ish because it is an ish today. Right, let me move some stuff out the way. So I'm going to be making a bit of a clatter for a moment. And while I'm doing that, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who has subscribed to my channel. I appreciate you all so very, very much. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. It is completely and totally free to do. It doesn't cost you anything. Only the tiny bit of energy that is needed to click that button underneath the video. And if you enjoy a video, please give it a thumbs up. It's always nice to know that people enjoy them. Even if you don't leave a comment, it's nice feedback for me and shows me that I'm on the right track for you. Sorry about that, autofocus. And if you want to be notified when I upload, release a new video, then click the notification button. That's it, nothing else needed. So, with no further ado, let's have a talk about what I'm going to do today. Other than to say thank you for helping me in that kind of way. And helping other people who might find my videos useful, because YouTube uses those likes and subscriptions to send my videos as suggestions to people who also may like them, who are connected to you in some way. I don't quite know how it works. It's called an algorithm, which means it's a kind of programming thing that will make choices based on data that's collected. So I understand that, you know, it's a mathematical construct. But how it works, I don't even know YouTube knows sometimes. But anyway, so it's day 18 of Inktober, and today's pattern is called Slowpoke. And it's by Cris Letourneau. Sorry, I've mangled your surname if you see this, who is a CZT. I will put the name and the description and the link to the step out. Yeah, their blog is called Tangled Up in Art, so, which is a lot easier to say. I'm useless with languages. And it's done in the step out as a ribbon pattern. So I'm going to do that. First find a pair of glasses so I can see clearly what I'm doing. I just need a bit of help here. And I'm going to create that ribbon across the middle of this paper here. I'm going to double aura, and I am aware that my ink is working differently with this paper because the distress ink hasn't had enough time to completely dry and sink into the paper. So that's the first step of Slowpoke. The next step is to draw a wave shape in the middle of it. So I'm going to start somewhere close to the middle on this side, down, up, down, up. I'm not even trying to make it identical on each side. And then what we're going to do is this, on each side we're going to fill them with spirals. And this is where some interesting things happen. I'm actually going to start my first spiral here from this corner here, up, down, and around. So I'm drawing my spiral in a clockwise fashion. And I chose to start it here because it just felt the natural thing to do. So once you've got your first one in, the next one follows on from that. So the next one follows on from the base. From here, where this touches the curve. And so I'm going to fit another spiral in there. And you can see I'm putting my dots in the middle because I like that. That's just how I do spirals, with dots or other things at the end of the line. So again, I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to go around. And I'm just going to keep on going, fitting these spirals in. So that we fill, they touch at the top and the bottom. If they don't, it doesn't matter because we can sneak another spiral in. So here, this would be quite a nice spiral to fit in there. But if I start here, I'm going to have a gap. If I did a spiral here, I have a gap here. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to grow another spiral from that point. Now, this isn't in the official step out. It's just that sometimes spirals are just a bit too big to draw comfortably, I think. Or they look awkward when you try to fit them in. They look out of place. You know, I'd have liked to have done that with the first one, but... So here we're going to have a smaller one again. And again here. And this one will be a bit bigger. And then that one didn't quite get to the bottom of the arc here. And this one, I think there'll be one at the bottom that fits it really quite nicely. And then I can grow another one here that will connect to those two like that. And then I'll have a partial one here, so I'm going to draw it in, imagining how the curls would go round. And that essentially is it on one side. So to do the bottom, turn it over and do the same thing. And you do want to start with, or you do want to use spirals that go in the same direction. I think so. I think they'd work if you did it in, you know, the opposite direction. I'm drawing all mine clockwise still. But you could start from this side and draw them anti-clockwise and see what happens. And of course you could start from the left-hand side if you prefer. It makes more sense to you, or how you know, if you're left-handed, that might make more sense. I don't know. I'm sort of left-handed with some things. A little bit ambidextrous, I guess. You know, I laughingly say I'm equally as bad with any kind of sports equipment in either hand, and it's true. But you know, when I'm cooking, if I need to use a spoon or a knife for something, I'll use whichever hand is the easiest to use. And yeah, it's the same. Sometimes I've been watching cooking videos recently, and I'm a bit confused when people... I was watching somebody making paratha, which is a kind of Indian bread, flatbread, and I'd use my left hand to flip it over, you know, and keep my hand on the rolling pin. And I just thought it was odd. She dropped a rolling pin and then used her right hand to flip it over and then pick the rolling pin up again. It just looked awkward to me, and I realised, oh, that's where I use my left hand so much, for things like that. And I wasn't always that way. When I was 6 years old, I broke my... No, 6, I was 9. 6, I broke my leg. 9 years old, I broke my right arm. And I was in plaster for quite a long while because I managed to dislocate... I broke both bones, you know, about 3-4 inches above my wrist, and I dislocated them as well. You know, so they had to be reset. So I was in plaster for quite a while. But I still had to go to school and write and things, so I learned how to do things with my left hand. And hangovers from that time are that I use my left hand for a lot of things, including scissors, without thinking about it. You know, and things like spoons and, you know, for cooking and what have you. And I'm going to have a strange one here, but I'm okay with strange ones. So I know where this has all come from. And I've forgotten what I was talking about. Which is typical. But I think we all have a preference in which way we prefer to, you know, which way we like our pens to move. And mine is definitely to the right and up. Do I like drawing it towards me? I don't know if I prefer drawing it towards me or not. So that is my section filled in. There's a couple of things we can do with this, so I'm going to keep it this way up because it doesn't matter which way is up. These spaces here we can actually fill or round to add some weight to this, so it ends up looking a lot like wrought iron. You can also draw an orb in there and fill those little corners in if you prefer that look, and I think I do because I'm using quite a chunky pen here. And there's just something nice about having a nice neat circular shape there, but it still ends up looking a lot like wrought iron. So I'll just quickly go along here. I say chunky pen, it's not really that chunky. It's chunky because it's been well worn and the point of it's been worn away. But it works fine. I prefer a broader line anyway. O1s, in my opinion, have got their uses, but it's a contrast to these thick lines. It's for adding fine detail. But I do tend to draw a lot bigger. And that may be a function of me preferring broader pens, heavier strokes, more distinct strokes and lines. And even here I'm going to pop one in there. And I am going to just add some line weight there. Now at the bottoms of these, actually, I can see there's one of these kinds of shapes here, so I am going to fill that in as well with a circle. And you know what? Even though this is part of a spiral, I'm still going to fill that in because it looks like a triangular shape at the edge there. Okay, so let me just look down here and look for these ones in the middle. We're hunting triangular spaces that I can pop an orb into, or ones that are next door to each other. Okay, there's one there. That one can go all black. I'm going to turn this one into one of those spaces. Leave half the orb there. But I can't see any more on that side, so I need to flip this over. And we're going to do exactly the same here. So I've made a bit of a strange shaped orb there simply because I do want this to be all nice and solid black there. These can be filled with all kinds of things. I quite like putting little triangles in them, so auraing inside from the baseline and then filling that in black. That's quite nice. Well, I think so. But there's something to be said for little circles as well. Well, weird shaped circles, you know. Orbs is a nice description of them. But there's a little space there I can fit one in. And this black really does set off the other parts of the pattern really quite nicely. I really do like the high contrast. I also like it against the brightly coloured background. Let me have a look here. Made a bit of a mess there, so I don't mind thickening that line. So it won't look so out of place, especially as I've done the same thing here. This is where a finer nibbed pen comes in useful. But I'm not going to get one. I've got one beside me, but it's the thought of filling this in with an 01 fills me with existential dread almost. Okay, I'm looking here now as to whether there are any other places where I can, if I can do something interesting with these. I've got these interesting shapes here. Can you see them, where these two meet? And I'm tempted to go here with almost like a little V-shaped cap. I could have put an orb in there, but I'm not. I'm doing them all black. But the nice thing is, if you look at the base of every single one of these, we've got that same kind of shape. And I'm just going to fill this in and see what happens. So I'm looking at, here's the curve of the spiral inside, here's the point where it starts. So I want to go to the point and back. Here, go to the point and back. Point, back. The point is that area where it meets. This one, I'm going to pretend this is where it starts. And just pop that one there. Okay, so here's that corner, so we can aura out from it. That might make more sense to you. Find that corner, move a little way from it and aura the lines. And fill it in with black. Takes a wee while to do, but it never takes as long as you think it's going to do. Yeah, I know I've missed some out there for a moment. These ones are going to be interesting because the point is there. I still want it to go over there, so they're going to be quite sharp points. Look at this one. And this one's got a tiny little one. This one's interesting because the start of the spiral was over here, but I've sort of filled it in. But I'm still going to use this as that point, and I'm going to draw this shape here. The other nice thing about going around and adding little bits like this is that you can see where you've made little, I'm not going to say errors, but where things need just a bit of tidying up. So this one here, I'm going to put one of those little hats there. Here, I'm going to go, oh, not quite. It's supposed to be that way. They're going in a different direction here. It's fine, it'll work out. So to that point, back there. Unless somebody's looking really hard, they won't notice that I've put these little embellishments in a slightly different place. They're so small. If it's one of the big ones, it might be very noticeable. So here is where the outside line finish is, if we curl outwards. So I need my triangle to fit in that space there, coming off that curl. So here's where and here again. Now I'm just going across one at a time, just to get these in. This creates a very Celtic feeling pattern, but in early Celtic art, which is where I know it from, this kind of shape, it would be a lot more organised in the way that it's done. Actually, not always. It can be pretty free-form. The only one I'm not happy with really is this one here, and I think I can do something about that by perhaps popping a spiral or two in this space here, just to fill that space in, and perhaps adjust this just that little bit there as if it's falling off the edge. So that makes me quite happy. So this is Slowpoke. So I'll just put its name underneath. Slowpoke, and it is by I did tell you, forgotten already. Cris Letourneau. So my letters have got a little bit smaller as they go across, but it's fine, it's hand lettering. Okay, so what can I do to these to embellish them now? I've done some embellishments, and I'm going to find in my pencil case, got a glaze. Come on, I want a souffle, if I can find a white souffle. White glazes. A white glaze will do. It will take a moment for it to show up because it will take a little while for these to dry. But I'm going to put a dot in the middle of these black areas, and I'm doing it in white for the high contrast around the other ones as well. Just little dots there. And though this glaze pen appears clear at the moment as it dries, it will dry to a shiny, opaque white. And like with all Jelly Roll pens, it's from Sakura. The lighter you touch them, the more ink that comes out. So I'm going to pop white in here. Part of me thinks that some of these big sections I might be able to, like here, where they're long and thin, might be able to get a couple of dots in for variety. So you can work with what you have there. They don't have to be all the same. Like this one is a really nice long swept one, and this one I might get 3 in. That one's only going to get 1. I'm tempted to fill the circles in with white, but I know that wouldn't look quite right. I'd want some colour in them, but I'm not quite sure how I want to do that. My head is going towards a gold gel pen, I think. This one is a big area. I've got big expanses here of black. And I think that's how I might approach this, is to put a big one in the middle and have smaller ones fading away around the edge. That'll look quite good. So you can see these are beginning to dry in places. Just checking very quickly that I need to pop some in elsewhere. So that'll be quite nice, I think. Perhaps just one there and there. Those be good. So I've got lots of little white bits there. Okay. I have got a gold pen in here. I can't find my Sakura gold, but this is a Uniball Signo, and it has the same kind of effect. So I'm going to be careful how I fill this in. The nice thing is if I do go over the black in these sections, it doesn't matter too much. It's not like I've got to try and leave the black line in almost its entirety, so I can just fill these in. So we'll have this going on. So I could have used gold paint, gold ink instead, but gel pens are really, really convenient for things like this, and they work well. This is more of a yellowy gold compared to the Uniball. Yeah, in some ways it's even more shiny, I think. I really do. I think this will work really quite nicely. I'm not of a mind to actually add anything that could particularly be shadow in these, because I really love the colour that's showing through. But I may go back. Now I'm regretting now adding the white, but this often happens with me. I get like this and I go, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. But the other thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to pop some gold, just as if it's been cooked in by the inner spiral. That one's just eaten into that black bit, but it'll be fine. So if I can find an area in that spiral where I can just have a gold dot sort of nestled in. Just held in place gently. Some of the smaller ones, it might just be a little dot that's put in, and that's okay. And some, like here, we might be lucky even if we get a little dot in. And it might not be right in the centre, but it's somewhere where they can be just held in place. That one hasn't got one. So I'm just scanning across. No doubt I'll have missed some. Nearly missed that one. I think that may kind of work. Trying to look at the screen without glasses on. Let's see if we can get this to catch the light somewhat. Hopefully we can get it to catch the light. I think I'm beginning to get that idea of the gold that's there. And I am so tempted. I'm going to try this on one over on the edge. And I'm going to draw a gold line that divides the middle of this spiral. I'm not going to be able to do this on everyone. Some of them are just a bit too small for this, but I think if I can just pick out the bigger ones. Oh, completely missed there. I really dislike going over work like this. It's okay, I can always go back over it with a black pen. Take this as the highlight. You need quite a steady hand to do this. And of course, if I draw all extremely big spirals, the biggest spirals I could, and perhaps not put these little end details in, then I'd be able to get them into just about every one of these. Actually, I'm not doing too bad here. And I've gone quiet because I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. So we need one that comes all the way down here. And we'll have that one going around to that point. I'm just going to turn it the other way around. Oh my gosh, I just caught a little sneaky look at the glisten on this. You may have as well, because I don't know how it's picking it up as I turn this, but I'll try and get the camera to pick it up. This may have been a good move, you know. maybe not. I've got some tidying up to do with black, but I can live with that. My only regret here are these white dots. Oh, I missed one of those there and there. Can I get some gold in these spirals? I think I can. Might not be able to get them around the point in time. Oh, not doing too bad. Let's have a look and see if I can get the gold in where I can. Missed that nice big one there. Okay, and that one there, I can definitely squeeze some gold in. This one I can. That one too. This one on the edge, which I missed, will fit in. And I think I've got them in all, actually. Managed it all. So if I pick this up, hopefully, at some point you'll get to see the... I'm not sure if I can manage it. You can see how it catches the light. There's a lot of gold on this. So you can see the gold there in its dullness, but as it catches the light, it does look quite nice. So I'm quite chuffed with that. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. The white dots are a bit too white. I don't know whether this pen will actually set on top of them. It may do. So I'm going to give it a go and see if I can just colour over these white dots with some of this gold. And hopefully it'll dry, and it'll dry gold. There's no harm in trying, is there? And then it makes everything that little bit more consistent. If I'd used a gel pen, I could have found a white gel pen, this would have been easy to do. But the glazes, they glaze like the souffle, they dry with a sort of like a very smooth plastic kind of finish. So it may just take a bit of time to dry before I can put it in my sketchbook. Some of the white might be showing out. The advantage of this, though, may be that these gold dots may be raised up that little bit, which will make them look a bit more like properly done gold leaf, where you use size, which is a sticky glue, and you can apply it in a thick layer. You let it set until it's just tacky, and then you apply gold leaf to it. And you burnish the gold leaf down, and it actually sets, the glue sets, fixes the gold leaf in place, which you can then varnish if necessary. Though with pure gold, you don't need to do that because it won't tarnish. And it has a raised bump to it. It's got a raised finish, a very dimensional one. And you can see that in old medieval manuscripts. If I remember, I'll put a link to a picture of one in the description, so you can get to see what that is like. So there's a lot of gold on there, a lot of gold. But I'm going to call that done, essentially. And if I turn it, you'll see, hopefully, we can try and get, I think you just got there's a glimpse of the gold there. Let me take my glasses off so I can see the screen better. You get an idea of the gold. The bands along the edge, I think I may just go back to begin with. Wrong pen. Actually, it's no 3 I've got there, but still too fine for this. I am going to go along the edge, and I'm just going to thicken this black line at the bottom here. not worried too much if it's not even. In fact, I think I might just colour it all in, because then I can use that to put gold in there and use the gold to create that channel in some way. So let's have a look at that. Part of me seriously wants to go in and fill the whole inside of each of these spirals with gold, but I'm not going to, because I want the colour, the background colour, to show through as well. As if this is filigree or ironwork of some kind, or a fancy kind of ribbon, I suppose. You know, a braid or lace ribbon. Very fancy and very ornate. Nowadays you must probably be able to get something like this made, because it would be printed with the gold and whatever, with machinery. I don't know whether anything like this ever existed in medieval times. Or just earlier times, really. I'm sure they did. But my head can't imagine how people would have done it. That is something I'd have to look up. I'm not sure I'm going to remember to do that. But I'm sure somebody will tell me. That is really, really a bold border, and that really does help set this off. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and draw. This may not work because this ink is still wet, so let's go to the other side, because the ink should have dried here. It has. Me rushing, should have known. I'm just going to draw a fine gold border close to the edge of that black. And I'll do the same this side now. Like so. And the last thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use that line in places as a little launching point for some spirals in gold that come out of there and seem to escape in their own little way. I like little bunches, almost. A little spray of them. Like so. Put some gold dots around as if we've got a weird kind of flower on the end, perhaps a dandelion of some kind. Roughly in a circle-ish pattern. I'll let that. You can see it when it's not catching the light. And I'll try and get it to catch the light. Gold. Sort of like you almost, come on. No, almost. You get the idea. But I could also just do the same kind of thing that is inside, and perhaps bring one back like that so they touch the barrier for something a bit more calm and sedate, perhaps. Or not. You know, just let them grow as they will, and you'll know when to stop when everything feels right. This one is a very strange one, so it's going to take me a while to draw enough spirally shapes here for me to be happy with this one. But it's possible. There we are. That may just work. So we can do things like that. It's just an example. I'm not happy with this one. This one at the top is okay. I think I'd preferred it going the opposite direction, but, you know, hindsight and all of that. So there we have Slowpoke by Cris Letourneau. And it's a lovely pattern and fabulous when it's been embellished, even simply as this. And I don't think there's any need for any shading on this as far as I'm concerned. Of course, you are able to do as you wish. So I'm going to say thank you for joining me and have a go at Slowpoke. Take care of yourselves, find that time to be creative, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye. Hoyle.